Okay, so it is my pleasure to introduce Brian Coltrin. Brian is an organic technical specialist with the CCOF Foundation and has spent the last 15 years involved in organic agriculture. He's been a CCOF certified farmer, certification staff, organic inspector, and now he's a technical specialist. And he's motivated to help support all of those doing the hard work to feed us all. And I also wanted to note that at the end of his bio, he said, since all technical specialists secretly want to be farmers, he grows a few acres of dry farm tomatoes north of Santa Cruz. So Brian, thanks so much for joining us today and giving us an introduction to organic certification.
Thanks, Megan. Thanks for having me here. I'm excited to present a little semi-short introduction to organic certification and then have a discussion of whatever questions come up. Okay to have questions during the talk too, if people want to unmute and let me know, or and have your questions as we go along. And then there'll be time for questions after too. Let me share my screen. All right, do people see that?
Looks good.
Yeah, all right, sounds good. So let's start. As Megan said, this is an introduction to organic certification. I work at the CCOF Foundation. So CCOF is an organic certification agency. We've got multiple parts of the business, and one of those is the foundation. And so we support those growing food, and we are in the business of building the organic movement. So, all right. Did the slide advance for you all?
Looks good.
All right, sounds good. So I'm Brian Coltrin from the CCOF Foundation. I'm an agriculturalist. So I work in my current role as the organic technical specialist. And what I'm doing now is supporting people in learning about organic and getting certified organic. I'm doing presentations like this to talk about organic and basically help build the organic movement. Organic is still small and scrappy, I would say. 1% of the ag land in the entire country is certified organic, maybe 10% in the state. So we're still the underdogs, but I think organic right now is kind of having like an institutional moment with the USDA funding through the transition to organic, a lot of farm to school, looking to buy organic. So I think, from our humble roots of the 60s and 70s back to the land movement, and now getting bigger and bigger and getting more market share, I think we're having an institutional moment. And so if anyone's thinking about going organic, right now is a really good time. And if anyone's transitioning their land from non-organic conventional to organic, now is a really good time because there's a lot of money to do that. Or there is some money, I wouldn't say a lot of money, but there's money to do that. So an exciting time in organic. And here's a photo of me. I'm doing an inspection in Los Banos. This is certified organic dryland wheat on 40 acres that the guy was growing for a silage chop to sell to organic dairies. And when I left, he said, I'm going to lease this out on a 30-year lease to solar panel, a company that was going to install solar panels on the whole 40 acres. So I didn't see if that happened or not, but I just thought it was interesting, right? The challenges and the reality of farmland in California and competing interests. I'm curious to see what ended up happening in one way, right? We're glad to get solar panels, but then we lost this silage shop for organic feed, and we know organic feed has gone up overall. Okay, so I want to start with a quick quiz. In the answer, feel free to type it, even unmute and let me know. So we're testing your knowledge. What do you know so far? Okay, are GMOs allowed in organic? Yes or no? What do you all think? A test.
Yeah.
All right, we're hearing some no's. Okay. Oh, a lot of no's. Okay, we got some experts. So GMOs are not allowed in organic. A lot of people don't know that. CCOF had a campaign to label and let people know GMOs, or sorry, organic is GMO free, or non-GMO and more, right? So not only do we not allow GMOs, we have a lot of other great aspects of building soil and creating healthy soil. Okay, do annual seedlings have to be certified organic? So the transplants, the little starts that you buy at the nursery, do those have to be certified organic? What do you all think? Yes, okay. And then Kaimar, I would say not even if possible, mandatory, has to be organic. Okay, I see more yes Aparna's on it. Good job. Nice. So yeah, if you're buying seedlings, the little transplants you're going to put in the ground and get an organic crop, that has to be organic. Now there's planting stock, which is different. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay, can a farm have organic and non-organic production? Can a business be mixed? Can you have organic and conventional as part of your business and be side by side? What do you all think? Kamar, okay, with a yes. What else? What do people think? So can you be mixed? All right, more yeses. Okay, yeah. So you could, in your operation, as long as you have methods and yeah, exactly, Parna. If you have clear separation between every process from seed to sale all the way along, and you can maintain that, then you can be a mixed operation. And of course, yeah, if the land meets side by side, you're going to have buffers or areas that's big enough to allow for to prevent contamination. Okay, how many years does the land need to be free of prohibited materials to certify organic? So you have some land, you want to certify it. How long does it need to be free of prohibited materials? Yeah, okay, we've got some pros out here. Nice. All right, so 3 years. And the idea is great. When the rule was getting made, right, it's a federal standard. Some people said it should be 10 years. Some people said 5. Some people said it should be 1 year. And so through discussion and collaboration, they decided, okay, it looks like after 3 years, enough biological activity has returned so that the ground is biologically active again or able to be full of life enough to call it organic. Okay, is hydroponic production allowed to be certified organic? What do you all think? Can you have hydroponics, so with water in tubes, growing a crop? Can that be certified organic? Okay, I see some yeses. Anyone else? Hiroko, I think you've been right on every one. Yes. Yes, tricky to fertilize. That's true. So hydroponic production is allowed in organic. This is a big debate in organic, right? There was some people saying no, some people saying yes. So that was a big debate, and we emerged saying, okay, hydroponics allowed. And I love this tricky to fertilize. So right, you're going to use allowed material to fertilize that crop, and so that might be a challenge to figure out what's allowed and what's not in hydroponic. Okay, next question. Can conventional strawberry crowns, so a non-organic strawberry crown, can you buy that, put it in the ground, grow out a strawberry plant, and harvest and sell that as organic? What do you all think? Okay, we got to know. So you conventional, what we call planting stock, you put it in the ground, it grows up in 3 or 4 months, you plant it in winter and spring, you're harvesting a crop. Okay, no, I got a yes. Okay. Nice. So this is the confusing world. There's a lot of little bits in organic that is, you figure out, right? But as soon as you get there and you're certified, you need to know. And then we try to help people explain. So few yeses, few nos. Okay, so the answer is yes. You can take a conventional. We are not calling this a annual seedling or a transplant. We're calling it planting stock. So you can take that, put it in the ground. As soon as it fruits and it's been under organic management, you can harvest and sell it as organic. That would be the same as a tree, something else like that. And we're not talking about taking a cutting off it. We're just saying putting this thing in the ground. You search for organic first, right? There's commercial availability, so subjectivity. You search for organic first, but in this case, yes, you could buy a conventional strawberry crown, and that's because it's planting stock. All right, next one. Can you take chlorine? Okay, should we answer the question now? What's the difference between transplants and crowns that are free of soil? Okay, so transplants are the little annual seedlings, and so those would have to come with soil, right? And those have to be certified organic. Then crowns, strawberry crowns, we're calling planting stock, and those are going to come probably without soil in this case, but sometimes they would come with soil, like if it's a tree or something, right? And so planting stock is just dealt with differently. And so if you search for organic planting stock first, can't find it, then you can use non-GMO and untreated, and you could plant that planting stock and grow out an organic crop. Now, if you wanted to go and take that crop that you planted that was conventional from like a tree, and you wanted to make a cutting, root that and sell that cutting, that would have to be under 1 year of organic management. So these are all the little nuances within organic. There's a lot of little bits. All right, then is treated lumber allowed? Can I take treated lumber, the little whole lumber, you know, injected with really strong chemicals, right? Can you take that and put it right next to your grapevine or your tree or your whatever crop? What do you all think? Okay, no, I like the no question mark. Yes, it is kind of a no question mark. So a blanket statement is no. No treated lumber in the production area. But then there can be, if there's treated lumber already there, we can certify areas that already has it there. So interesting interpretation of the rule. And then remember, I'm talking about CCOF policies. Other certifiers may interpret the rule differently. And so this is just what we do. Okay, so what is certified organic? Organic's a labeling term. It's owned by the US federal government. It's in the Code of Federal Regulations, right? Part 205, da, da, da. And so it's national law. The National Organic Program administers the regulations. They get input, they hold the rule. And then certification agencies such as CCOF were accredited. They give us permission to certify to this rule. What is organic production? So organic production itself, it's a production system that uses cultural, biological, mechanical practices to promote ecological balance, right? It conserves biodiversity. And then the core key of it, it improves natural resources, including soil and water. So I think we always think of organic and we think of it as building the soil. So organic is much more than input substitution. It's not just taking one glowing white powder, throwing it away and bringing in like chicken manure. It's really building an alive system that is going to provide the plants a healthy environment to actually grow. So here is a picture of my field. It's my background too. So this is my field in 2011 when I was in Pescadero. So these aren't just stock photos I've grabbed. And so I have an idea of what it takes to grow food and get it to market and sell it and see, wow, these returns are pretty low. And I think that organic promises or hopes to, you know, make those returns better. So then what's the benefits of organic certification? It's a farming practices that uses primarily non-synthetic fertilizers and pesticides, right? So you don't have synthetics. It protects natural resources and biodiversity, enhances biodiversity. It's non-GMO, and then hopefully you attract consumers who want organic and they value that. It's a tool to increase your revenue. Can you make more sales with organic? Could you find new customers? It's growing the quickest of all sectors of the food economy. It's growing at 6.5%, so it's growing faster than kombucha drinks. It's the fastest growing sector of the food economy. And interestingly enough, I was at the IOAA, the inspector training, and there were young adults there, young professionals who were entering organic, not because they're organic converts and they love organic, they eat organic all day. They simply just saw this as the fastest growing sector for a career. I thought that was cool to see that we're attracting people who just know that organic is growing fast enough to provide a career. Then sorry, here's my field in 2023. So this is dry farm tomato north of Santa Cruz in the Waddell Valley. This tomato crop was planted out and grown all the way out to, you know, harvested 12,000 pounds from this. It's less than an acre without any water, not even after planting. So I think it's a interesting, hopefully meeting the challenges of our dry climate going forward. But it's something that's possible on the coast of California. So this field right here, just about whatever, a couple hundred yards away is the ocean. I can hear the waves breaking from the field. It's really cool. All right, and then there's cost share. So up to 75% of the cost that you spend on certification will come back to you, and that's up to $750. So, you know, the average small operation gets certified with CCOF for say $1,500 or so, and then you get 750 of that back. It's a win-win. This, of course, is dependent on the farm bill, so we need the farm bill to pass and this money to get allocated. So if you're talking to representatives, and tell them keep cost share in the farm bill. Okay, and then so what are the what's the overview of organic regulations, right? The very first step is it starts with an organic system plan. This is 25 pages of how are you going to manage the farm. And then the core of organic is improving the soil, right? You're building the soil, you're making it better. There's 3 years free prohibited materials. So you've got to look to see if is this land even eligible? If so, then I could move forward. You improve the natural resources. So not just the field, around the field. Can you plant living hedges, hedgerows? Can you put flowers? Can you do things that attract beneficial insects? You're going to keep records in the process. You're going to keep records of your seed and planting stock. Pest management will want to know you did something preventatively before you use pest management materials. All the materials you use, we want to know what they are and make sure they're allowed. There'll be a yearly inspection. So we'll have an inspector come out each year and make sure you're doing the same practices. They'll look at the organic system plan. Then labels will be approved and we'll have direct sales. If you're selling direct, we want to know where it's going. So here's a little example of the organic system plan. It's a detailed description of your farming practices. So what do you do to produce organic crop? You update it as things change. The certifier will look at it and make sure, okay, everything you said in this plan is compliant. And in the process of application, we'll work with you to say, okay, this isn't compliant. Let's figure out how we can change your practices to comply with the rule. And then the implementation is verified during inspection. So whatever you said in the plan, we'll look at each inspection and say, okay, are you still doing that? Here's a first page example. I highlighted some of the parts. This is a G 1.0. So it's kind of like, you know, read all the instructions first before you start. And so you don't have to fill out the whole thing. Just go to this first page and only fill out the ones that you need to, sorry. And so, you know, if you're using seeds, right, fill out the G 3.0. If you grow mushrooms, fill out the mushroom page, but don't fill the whole thing out because it'd be taking too long. All right, and then like I keep saying, and this is what didn't happen a lot of my inspections, I would tell growers improve the soil. And I think the core part of organic is, and this is what I think consumers feel and believe, organic farmers are good stewards of the land and they're always building the soil. And I think that will be our gift to the next generation. We'll hand off these soils that have 3, 4, 5% organic matter that are really resilient and can handle drought conditions, can be viable and can handle stress and can hold a lot of water too. So you'll manage crop nutrients, so soil fertility with cover crops, rotations. You can apply compost, raw manure, animal and plant materials. You'll rotate crops. I said that. And then if you're using compost or raw manure, they have specifications, and with raw manure, there's timelines. So if it touches the crop, it's 120 days. If the manure doesn't touch the crop, it's a tree fruit, it's 90 days before harvest. So stuff to think about. The land itself, we want to know where it is, what's around it, what are the borders? Do you have a conventional neighbor right next to you spraying every day? What's the crop? Is there 3 years free of prohibited materials? Like I said, is the land even eligible? Yeah, what's the land history itself? We want to know the documentation. So if there was a date of last prohibited material, we want you to write that down, even just on a notebook, the date, what it was. And then from that day, the clock starts and you can go 3 years and certify any ground, but we want to see you've got records of what was applied. And then since the date you applied the last prohibited material or whenever you got that ground, figure out what that is, and then keep a record of everything that was applied after that. So you want to make sure what you're applying after that is allowed material, so that you can certify this ground after 3 years. And I'll show you how you do that. So then natural resources, right? The requirement is that you maintain and improve the natural resources, water and soil. And then, you know, you'd increase biodiversity, create pollinator habitat. If there's riparian area, you protect or enhance that. Here, look, we see a really big cover crop of mustard. This would be a great forage crop when the insects are out. It looks like probably a little before the trees are flowering, but you know, maybe let this go a little longer, catch beneficial insects to pollinate that tree and then mow that in before it goes to seed. So management that you might not be doing if you're not growing organic yet. So then the records, you document all your activities, you keep those records for 5 years. They're gonna be reviewed at every inspection. and then you adapt it to your operation. We don't care how you keep it or how it's done. You could write on a chalkboard and take a photo. We just want to make sure the records are there. And then those records are everything you apply to the fields. We want to know what that is, manufacturer, and when you applied it. And then seed and planting stock. So the seed itself, right, doesn't have to be organic, but you search for organic. So you're going to keep a record of that search. Same with the planting stock, you're going to keep a record of that search. Then say you bought annual seedlings, our little transplants, they have to be organic. So you're going to buy organic and keep a record, and then keep a copy of the certification that you got it from, to show us that this is organic seedlings. So then if you're rotating the crops, which is the requirement, we want to show, you're going to have a map or a record that shows, hey, I rotated this crop around the field. Whatever you did for natural resource management, you planted flowers, you did hedgerows, anything you do, let us know. And if you do anything, you'll probably be ahead of everyone else, because this is an area that not a lot of people are doing much with. So we want to keep seeing that grow, or help people comply with that as they do more. And then the biggest one is harvest and sales record. So everything you harvest, you're going to write down. Everything you sell, keep a record of that. And the idea there is, since we see everything that was harvested and everything that was sold, no conventional product made its way in the middle. So every year we'll audit the harvest and sales. So what I see with some people who aren't keeping great records, when they get certified organic and they have to produce records they didn't have, it can be hard or difficult. So start to prep and have in mind this stuff. And as a farmer, you want to know what you harvested and what you sold. Here's an example of a market load list. So you're going to write the crop quantity, and you'd write quantity sold and quantity remaining. So with that, this would be enough to serve as your harvest and sales record. That's all we would have to see. You could do that for every crop, and you would be in compliance with the organic regulations. So then talking about seeds and annual seedlings, I know we keep jumping on this one, and there's others that are like this, but this one keeps coming up and usually comes up at inspection. So the seeds, GMOs are prohibited, so no GMO seed, right? The seed has to be organic, but then you can search for organic and buy non-GMO and untreated. And then if you're buying seed that's not organic, but that has a seed treatment, so could be 1 ounce of powder, make sure that seed treatment is allowed. And this could be in the process of certification. You're not certified yet, or even when you're certified. I've seen people lose their whole field because they applied 1 ounce of powder that was coating the seed, right? And it was a prohibited seed coating that had, urea or whatever in it. So then they lost 5 acres, 8 acres because of this tiny amount of powder. Maybe 5 acres would be a few ounces, but it was such a small amount. It's hard to see that as an inspector. And then, like I said, annual seedlings have to be certified organic. Planting stock, you have to search for organic, but can use none. Sorry. So pest management, you use preventative practices first. So if you plant the crop at a certain time, you have companion planting, you have really good soil health, you can do things preventatively to not have to spray. You have a bug vac, right? The strawberry growers just drive over the crop and vacuum everything out of there, right? And have it stored in like a giant mesh bag. I went and looked at a huge mesh bag of cucumber beetles. I was like, wow, there's a lot in the field. I didn't realize it until they were vacuumed away. But that is a mechanical control that's allowed, right? And it saved the person from having to spray. So then you'll do something preventative before you're using allowed pest control materials. And then other materials, fertilizers, soil amendments, compost, manure. There's adjuvants that might go in the whatever spray you're using. Make sure there are allowed adjuvants. And so the way to look at materials is everything that's non-synthetic is going to be allowed, except for a few things, right? Like lead. Lead is non-synthetic, but it wouldn't be allowed in organic, right? It's something you wouldn't want to grow with. And then if you're looking at material, anything that's synthetic is going to be not allowed unless specifically allowed, which there's a small list, and that's called the national list. And there's some like whatever low risk synthetics that made it on that list in the process of the rule getting formed. So then each material that you're going to use, it's going to be allowed for use and then included in your organic system plan. So you run it by your certifier, you send it in, you know that it's allowed before you use it. Those materials are reviewed. And then so CCOF and other certifiers, we rely on outside material review organizations. So we go to OMRI, and I was going to say, write down this right here, omri.org, this website, www.omri.org. So if you are curious and want to know if something's allowed, go to this website, go to the top little search bar. Perfect, thanks, Megan. And you can look to see if a material is allowed that you want to use. Washington State Department of Ag has a list, and CDFA has one now too. I have them at the very end of the presentation. And so then with labels, we want to make sure the labels are allowed and can be used in the market. So you're going to run that by the certifier. And the few changes, there's the strengthening organic enforcement, SOE, we've been calling it. So it's a new change to the organic regulations. And so non-retail labeled, what would be wholesale? You identify the crop as organic. You didn't have to do that, but now you do. And then you put lot numbers or just any other tracking method. And those are now two new things. Identify the crop as organic. This is with wholesale labels, so you're selling to like a distributor. Identify it as organic and put some tracking method on it. And then retail labels, the person's going to buy it at the store, take it home to their house. That has to have certified organic by the certifier directly below the name and the operation with their address. So do you think this label is compliant, everyone? Wait, before you answer this, let me go to the next page. Okay, so then once you're certified organic, you can use the USDA logo, either in black and white. But if you use the logo of the USDA, it's got to appear more prominent than that of your certifier. And then if you use the color, it has to be in these colors. You can't change them at all. There's no option. Okay, so now let's look at this label. Is this label compliant with what we've talked about? If you look down at the bottom, Shenandoah Growers, headquartered in Rockingham, Virginia, certified organic by CCOF. Okay, so we see the name. Address is kind of a little sketchy. I'm actually wondering how we would look at this. But what do you all think? The certifier logo is at the bottom left-hand corner, and then the USDA logo is up here. Is the USDA logo more prominent? And then is certified organic by directly below the name and contact info? Okay, close, but yes, right? Yeah, this it's hard to compare a circle and this rectangle. I would say it's bigger. Yeah, okay, partner likes it. I wonder about this headquartered in Rockingham, Virginia. Maybe on the backside it says their address. The idea is if the person goes home, they eat this thing, they put this time, whatever, and they get sick, they're able to get a hold of whoever got them sick through an address, you know? And so I think the CCOF might ask for an address on this front thing. Anyway, these little things. We could look at more labeling requirements. Okay, so here's the seal. And then if you're selling direct, so say you take this to a farmer's market, and this happens a lot, right? There's mixed operations that go to farmer's market. That's for us the biggest risk. So we want to make sure they've got all the systems in place to prevent commingling. So they keep from seed until harvest, each crop separate. It's clearly marked and labeled. It's kept separate in transport all the way to sale. And so this bottom one, right, if this is organic and conventional and they're mixed like that, I guess even though they're different colors, still wouldn't be okay, right? Because they're commingling, they're actually touching organic and conventional. And then one thing I did want to mention so everyone knows, there's an exemption within the rule. So if you have under 5,000 in sales, you can use the word organic, even registered organic, not certified organic, but organic. As long as you're under 5,000 in sales. And so if you're in California and you want to do that, you have to register with the CDFA. So little things to remember if you're a small one, but the CDFA will audit those operations that are under 5,000 and are registered organic. Here's some resources. So this is the top one's the USDA National Organic Program. You can go through and read the entire rule. The second one down is the actual regulations. If you are having trouble sleeping, you know, you can bring those out and just go down line by line. When I worked at CCOF office, the reviewers, we had the physical copy in our hands and we would like flip through the page and go 205, 105, you know. And so we would try to interpret the rule every day based on what people were doing. And we'd look and say, oh, there's a comma here. Does that mean, you know, or there's a period instead of a comma, right? And so that would affect how we interpreted the rule. And it was just people interpreting federal law, but it, you know, there was right objective aspects of it, because then we get together as a team and say, okay, how should we treat this? And then we would come up and codify what we call policy positions. And so we're like, okay, here's CCUS position on, I don't know, growing hydroponically or growing in a pot, and the roots could go into the soil. How are we going to treat that, right? Does that need to be 3 years of land history or not? And then, so the organic transition transition to organic partnership. Check out this website. There's mentors there. There's a lot of information if you're transitioning. And then you can find accredited organic certifiers, and you can also see who's certified organic with this organic integrity database. Get this on your phone, have that website saved. At the farmers market, you could just type in the name of the operation. If they're not in this organic integrity database, they're not certified. This is for everyone certified in the whole country. CCOF has this with our directory, but this is the most comprehensive with the USDA database. It's kind of cool. And that's been built out in the last little while to try to, you know, have organic be a stronger and more enforceable rule. Here's some more stuff. NCAT and ATRA. I hope everyone knows about them. They're very cool. I didn't put UCANR in here. I figured everyone knew about that already. CCOF has a Go Organic checklist, which is nice. So you can just go down a checklist and see if you're ready for certification. More stuff with ATRA. What else? Cost share. We want to make sure everyone applies for cost share every year, because if we don't, then they won't give it to us again. So we want to just like max out our application so it keeps getting allotted in the Farm Bill. Here's the 3 review organizations I mentioned before. So omri.org is the quickest and easiest, but here's WSDA, and then CDFA has one now too. And so all 3 of these review organizations, if the material is on this list, it's allowed for use. And then the final thing is you get it on your list of materials with your certifier. All right, I think that's all I have. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you being here.